Good morning, Sea-Home Mariners.
I'm Emma Jenkins.
I'm Montana Walters.
And I'm Lillian Barrett.
As you know, this Saturday is Veterans Day, and in honor of those that have served and are still currently serving, we would like to recognize their service by bringing you a panel of folks from our Bellingham and Sea-Home community that have served our country.
Today, our panel will be sharing experiences and lessons they've learned and why they chose to serve in the military. Veterans, please introduce yourselves and the branch of military you served in and how many years you've served.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Johnson, and I served from 1992 to 1996 in the U.S. Army.
Hi, I'm Jesse Atkins. I served from 2002 to 2005 in the United States Navy.
I'm John Furden, U.S. Army. I was 20 years active duty.
Scott Schroyer, 1983 to 1986, 82nd Airborne, Army.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We gathered questions from our student community, and to start off, people would like to know more about why you guys chose to enlist in the military and what was the deciding factor for the specific branch you chose.
I'll start. Last century, I graduated from the University of Florida in 1967, and with a degree in psychology. And so my goal was to continue on to graduate school and go forth from there. In 1967, Vietnam was really starting to explode. And at that time, they started drafting graduate students. I didn't want to be drafted. So out of all of the services, the Army offered just a 2-year active duty commitment. And so I figured I'll join, I'll do my 2 years, and then get out, go to graduate school. Well, that turned out to be 20 years. So that's why I joined the Army.
I started to think about the Army in the early 90s when I was finishing college as well. I was in nursing school in Chicago, and I had some friends that were involved in Operation Desert Storm, and at that time I started to really think about how I can serve my country, knowing that my friends were also serving their country. So I had started talking to different people that were in the military at that time, and I actually had the opportunity to take a trip to Fort Knox in Kentucky, and in San Diego I got to go see a military base with the Navy, and I was never interested in the Air Force, so I didn't really go that route, but I was able to see 2 different bases, and I just really liked what I saw at the Army base. I don't know why I chose something where I could have been on the coast, but ended up in the middle of the country, and I ended up choosing the Army just because I figured I wanted to be in a hospital setting and maybe not on a boat at that time in my life, so I did go with the Army then.
I joined to get out of Fresno, California, and go to college, which was not very likely, and we weren't a very wealthy family. Mm-hmm. My dad was Navy. He always told me stories. I'm a 3rd-generation veteran. We've had family from World War II, Korea, Kosovo, OIF, OEF, and I wanted to see the world, so I joined the Navy, and I got put on a boat that could only go to San Diego and Hawaii.
My dad was in the Navy for 20 years, so I grew up a military brat, and I was kind of doing the student thing, and wasn't really working out so well, so chose to go in the Army. I didn't want to be on a boat out floating around, so I chose the Army.
Awesome. This is a follow-up question for Mrs. Johnson. Women make up 17% of active service members, and knowing that there aren't a lot of women that are in active duty, what made you choose this pathway? Yeah.
So there were two really important people in my life when I was in college that I talked to a lot about the military. One was my friend Josie, who was in ROTC at the time. So as we were going through college, she was doing cadet work as a ROTC student. And then I had a professor, she was one of my med-surg professors, Dr. Miller, who was a Marine veteran. So just spending a lot of time with them. And then we had an Army nurse come visit us in one of our classes, and she had on her full BDUs. She's like, this is how I get to go to work, in my BDUs and my combat boots. And I was like, that's really cool. I want to go to work wearing BDUs and combat boots. And just having conversations with both Josie and Dr. Miller really helped me guide my pathway to joining the Army as well. And I was surprised to see that quote, actually. I thought it was more than 17%.
Yeah. Pretty bizarre, yeah.
All right, next question. Did the military give you an opportunity to be stationed in multiple locations? And if so, which location was your favorite and why?
They have great nicknames for the places I went, like Great Mistakes, Illinois, and Groton, Connecticut. And then I was in Bangor, which was Silverdale, and that's what got me to stay in Washington. Definitely loved it up here. And then I spent the time underwater, so I can't say much for
Well, yes and no. We in the Army, we all had an opportunity to let it be known where we wanted to go. But as I soon found out, although everybody has a vote, some votes mean more than others. And so my first overseas assignment was Korea. I spent 2 years in Korea. After that, I volunteered for Vietnam, so that was my choice. And then eventually, I managed to get to Germany, and so I spent three years in Germany. So everything else, pretty much, I went where I was told to go.
I spent all my time at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It's, I told somebody one time if I had to drive from Florida up to New York, I'd drive around North Carolina. So that's, North Carolina.
I agree with what you said. We do have choices sometimes, the first, second, and third choice. My first choice was actually Madigan Army Medical Center, but I didn't get that. I wound up with my second choice, which was Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center in Aurora, Colorado, right outside of Denver. And then I started off at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, was where my officer basic training was. And then during my time in Colorado, I also got to do a pediatric nurse course in Hawaii. So that was really cool. But I think really my favorite place was Colorado. And it was hard to leave Colorado when I did. But there were good reasons to leave Colorado at the time. But it was a good place to spend most of my time.
If I could, talking about favorite places.
Let's hear it.
Stateside, by far. My favorite place was Fortress Monroe in Virginia. And it overlooked the site where the Monitor and the Merrimack fought during the Civil War. It's the only place that I served where it was surrounded by a moat because it was built in the early 1800s.
Oh, wow.
And one of the engineers who helped build it was a gentleman by the name of Robert E. Lee, and it was the only Union fort in southern areas that did not go over to the Confederates. So it was really something to drive across the moat and into areas that once held cannons during the Civil War.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that was unique.
Yeah.
Next question. So lots of folks were really interested in military food. And so what was like your favorite, or like what was your experience with military food, and what was like your favorite MRE or something you despised? And then would anyone like to explain what MREs are for the community?
Called Meals Ready to Eat. They used to have C-rats when I first started, and then we switched to MREs, and they had tin cans with the C-rats. And basically, it's all packaged and has a shelf life of 1,000 years. And
Very salty.
yeah, bring your Tabasco sauce with you, and that accentuates everything that's in there. Yeah.
They have tiny bottles of Tabasco sauce. That was the best part of the MRE.
But on the barracks, the food was good. Yeah, it was really good. And I'm always laughing when I went to college, people complaining about the dorms, and then you see how students actually eat, and you're going, the food at the cafeterias were good, and so yeah, it was good.
Yes, as I said before we started, I never had MREs when I was on active duty. It was C rations, and you're right. They didn't have a shelf life. They were just always there. But the times that I ate in Army chow halls, I never had a bad meal. There was always plenty of food, and it was all good, and never a complaint from me. All tasted good. After a while, when you're out in the field, even C rations started tasting good. So yeah, it's different, but it was good.
Yeah, submarines don't have the best food, and obviously we do not have all great food. Actually, as any member on the boat, you get the joy of doing stores onload when you get ready to go to sea, so everyone's passing food out, or passing everything down, toilet paper and everything. And all the food will say not for institutional use, meaning the prisons won't even take it, and that's what we're loading onto the boat. And worst meal, hands down, by far, Friday night mid-rats. Which was called Chuck Wagon, which was all the leftover hamburgers that just sat on the griddle for lunch till mid-rats is from 11:30 at night till 12:30 in the morning. So that would get chopped up and put with beans, and that was mid-rats on Friday, and it was horrible.
You weren't looking forward to Fridays, right?
No. The days all blended. You work 18-hour days, so you really have no idea what day it is, except for the food.
Another question is, what lessons did you guys gain serving in the military, and how are those lessons incorporated in your life outside the military? And did it guide you to a specific career or education pathway?
I can start with this one. I think the first thing I learned was patience.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the motto, hurry up and wait, but that's the Army motto. So patience was something that actually I think is really important in life, is knowing patience. I had already done my schooling, so I knew I was going to be a nurse, but I really learned all of my foundational skills in the Army. It was the best place to start my career as a nurse. I learned so much and got to see so many different things. I'm so glad that that's how I started. And to be able to serve military families and soldiers, and we also served a Native population as well. Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center served about 10 different states. Oh, wow. So we had people that came as far away from Alaska to have services in our hospital. And I had a great preceptor, so the person that kind of taught me the ropes as we went through the first few months that I was there. It was just, I can't say enough of what a phenomenal way it was to start my career, and it brought me to where I am today, just from starting way back then in 1992.
I think the biggest thing, submarine life is just a strange entity, and you worked you can work long hours. The longest I worked was something around 32 hours straight. And you do ridiculous things. You have to put out fires insanely fast, and we actually had one of those on our boat when I was there. And the biggest thing I think you learn is that you just can push your body and yourself beyond whatever you think you could. And sleep deprivation can be a very strange experience, especially when you're navigating a boat. But you learn to deal with it, and I think that's in life now. I don't have anything as challenging. Well, I have a young daughter, and that's challenging in its own right. But it's even the little things when you could start getting frustrated, you just know that you can get through it and handle it. So, and patience, lots of patience.
Two things for me. One is that there's hoops you have to jump through in life. I was one of those knuckleheads that wasn't going to jump through hoops, and then the hoops don't change. And so I think that's a really important thing to kind of learn. Sometimes you have to do things. The other was just working with different people from different backgrounds, different races, different beliefs. And I think that's probably the most valuable thing in terms of if you have people from all over the country and they don't all think the same way, but you have a focus. So it was cool.
I learned so many different things. My dad was career Navy. My brother was career Navy, and I was career Army. But I remember before I went to the initial basic training, my dad, who was a senior NCO when he retired, he said, "Listen to me." He said, "Number one, keep your mouth shut. And number two, do what your NCOs tell you to do." And that was my very first lesson. And actually, as I progressed along, that is a truism. The Army, every service says our strength is with our NCOs. And if you disregard that, you do it at your what do I want to say? Yeah, don't do it. And again, I had the opportunity, like you mentioned. I commanded troops, not only U.S. troops, that included all kinds, but I also commanded Korean troops. I commanded some Vietnamese troops, some good, some very bad, and in Germany, I actually commanded German troops, but we all had a commonality, and that is mission first, and take care of your people.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to mention an NCO is a non-commissioned officer. I don't know if our community knows what that stands for. We're talking military
Acronyms.
I think on the people aspect, in the Navy, there's a term shipmate, and there's replace the P with another letter, and that's people that aren't so great. I think this is a good skill in life. You kind of learn how to work with some of those people because they don't go away, and you could argue and complain and not want to deal with them, but it's the hoop that you have to jump through, and that's definitely a skill to kind of just deal with those people. They're everywhere. So.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit of a lighter question. One controversial question that came up was, which branch of the military has the best uniform, in your personal opinion?
It's the Marines, and none of them are sitting here.
And again, it's good they're not listening, but the Marine Corps, absolutely.
The Army's going back to their World War II uniform, which is far better than post-World War II. But the Navy is second, hands down.
I was going to say, I think the Navy uniforms are pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
I'm not a fashionista. So.
Well, it kind of depends on what uniform you're talking about.
Yeah.
Certainly the dress uniform, there's no question the Marines, I think, still have that. The Army can't seem to decide on what kind of uniform they want. But this latest edition where we went back with the traditional blue with blue pants with the yellow stripe and everything is a good looking uniform, and I do like the new uniform that the Army has adopted, going back to the pinks and greens of World War II. It's a nice looking uniform.
Underway, I think mine was the best. We call them poopy suits. It's just coveralls, and so they're really easy to wear.
wonder where that name came from.
Oh, you know.
So when some people see military personnel in uniform, they like to go up and say thank you for their service. How would you like people to show their gratitude and appreciation for your service?
For me, be informed and let that dictate who you vote for, knowing that people are going to be put in harm's way sometimes. So I just think being informed and who you elect and what their policies are, I think that's the way you would support me.
Yeah, I think the thank you for your service is a lot of times very empty when people see that. It's especially strange not on like Veterans Day or Memorial Day. I'm not the one we're remembering. And I just have to agree. I think it's really frustrating to be an adult and talk to other adults. And today's voting day, today's election day, and people don't turn their ballot in. It's like, and that's something we all served for, and so that's like the best way to me. Yeah, I think that's the best way to honor what I did.
I also just wanted to mention that a lot of our veterans are unhoused. So if we can support our unhoused community, we're oftentimes supporting our veteran community as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it takes not just one day, it's something that we have to think about all the time. And voting is super important. And I hope everybody got their ballots in today that's 18 or older. It's pretty easy to vote in Washington, and we need to take advantage of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm okay with thank you for your service. Since I fought in Vietnam, and there were no homecoming. There was nothing. Actually, there was something, and that something was not very nice. Our guidance, when we got off the plane after flying to the States from Vietnam, we were advised change clothes as soon as you can into civvies. Otherwise, people will say nasty things to you. When I was still in training, myself and 2 other people, we had to wear uniforms because we had no civilian clothes. Went to New York, and we were on our way one evening, I think to see the Rockettes. And this young lady walked by us and said, "Baby killers." Obviously, I've never forgotten that. And we learned a lot coming out of Vietnam on how to treat veterans. And you can hate the war, but don't hate the warrior. And that's what we learned coming out of Vietnam. So I'm fine with thank you for your service.
All right. Wrapping up here, a huge thank you to our panel for sharing their personal experiences with us. We also want to say thank you for your service on behalf of the See Home community.
Can I say one thing? I want to mention a couple of veterans. Jonathan Santos was killed in 2004. Jack Ostrowski, 2020. They're See Home grads. And so I'm acknowledged.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've all lost folks. I'm remembering high school classmate Bob Tuttle. Went to Annapolis, became a Marine, and stepped on a landmine in Vietnam. I had 2 classmates in my officer candidate school, Philip Gamble and Paul. Philip Gamble was in an infantry unit, same one that later on I went to, and he was killed in his first month in country, and he received a Silver Star trying to save one of his troops out in the field. And Paul Carter had his helicopter shot down. So, those are things I remember them every day.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to Memorial Day, that feeling intensifies.
I bet, yeah.
So Veterans Day is for all veterans, past. So yeah, I mean, being in the military is challenging for all kinds of reasons. So, and that's why being able to talk to you means a great deal to me.
We appreciate your time as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for watching. See Home.
Bye,
Bye,
Mariners.
Bye, Mariners.
Peace.